Welcome to another episode of Icon Presents. Today's guest is an amazing singer who's here to share with us her newest single titled Sophia's Eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, Icon Presents Aria Cecile.
You call me evening. You say Aurora's been just divine. I'm sipping on spirit. I grant you serenity, pantomimes, but give it a moment, and I must withdraw that provision of mine. Well, you bear all the tears, so we say that it's wine. Rumors I've settled, lived many lives on Drury Lane. I'm no good at baking, but I can pretend for many days. But rumors revoke themselves, and now I'm horseback riding in outer space. The peace of your turbulence, it cannot be replaced. Evening or morning I'm even keeled and grand. I give you a smile, I say let's go back to Neverland, spinning around and around. You can't be found, I'm tiring of man. Is there something greater than these two wretched hands? I face the heavens, I hear them booming back my name. I hear the difference, I'll remain lucid till my wake. You think you've outgrown my mistrustful mind. There's nothing now to face. Just look with Sophia's eyes, you'll see your wicked ways. Live with Cecilia's thighs, you'll seek a nobler haste.
All right, welcome. Aria, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing great. That's amazing. I absolutely love that song.
Thank you.
It's like, I'm gonna tell you, so obviously we met at the Amplified Studios open mic. I saw you. Like, it was funny because I had just wrapped up on talking with Bob, the owner of Amplified. I believe his name was Bob. Hopefully his name was Bob. I'm almost positive. But yeah, so I ended up talking with him for a good amount of time, and then I just happened to walk in and you were just setting up and you were performing that song, and I was absolutely blown away. So thank you for joining me. It was amazing.
Thank you so much.
No problem at all. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I was definitely like nervous to do that
Yeah.
I think. But
Was that your first time doing an open mic?
well, I mean, for this specifically. For the open mic, I was also nervous.
I got you.
It wasn't, I'd done a couple open mics, but that was kind of, I guess, yeah, I definitely felt like vulnerable specifically at that one because it was like, kind of more like a lot of times they're at like bars and everyone's distracted. And so
Mhm.
it's like if you mess up, everyone's drunk and doesn't care.
Yeah.
But it's like a room full of musicians that are all like watching you. So
Exactly. You never
Yeah.
know who's in the crowd.
right.
You didn't know that the guy that was gonna with the hat on was gonna walk up to you and be like, "I want you on my podcast."
I did
And
not
you
know.
didn't- I got you. So tell me a little bit about that song, Sophia's Eyes. What was the inspiration for that?
Um a lot of different things actually. I think the main thing was I think dealing with relationships with people that so Sophia are you familiar with Gnosticism at all?
Not really.
So it's like a kind of like branch of like Christian like mysticism, like occult Christianity, like from the like I think it's like the 20s or something.
Interesting.
But they kind of have this concept of the divine as being I'm pretty sure this is it, of basically being like wisdom. And they call her Sophia.
Interesting.
And also like kind of in Carl Jung's work, like the psychoanalyst guy, but he also referred to kind of like the divine wisdom as Sophia.
Hmm.
So that was kind of my my inspiration for the song was just sort of like feeling like I have wisdom or feeling like I have insight to offer someone and they're not really hearing it.
Gotcha.
And just sort of how like that kind of creates rifts in relationships. When you see the way that someone can grow, you see the way that somebody can kind of step into a different behavior and they just don't really see it the same way.
Right.
But yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration was just like dealing with relationships and trying to navigate that.
I got you. Got you. That's interesting. I would have never thought that that song had to do with a like sub Christian cult type thing
Yeah.
inspiration, but I understand it. That I love music and art that has or pulls inspiration from deeper meanings and ideologies and ideas that people may not be associated with or anything like that. So that's really cool. The because you did that song and then you also did a song called Digital Age, right?
Mhm.
At that open mic, and both of those were like they were very much kind of observing society and the structures and the essentially the way that we act and kind of are with each other, as well as like I feel like you take your approach with music very seriously, and I respect that.
Thank you.
I respect it. I was like, okay, cool. So tell me, like, do you take yourself very seriously when it comes to music? Like, what's your vibe or method when it comes to writing?
Um, I think usually it's just sort of a means. I guess it's sort of serious because it's a means of like kind of processing the
Mhm.
world.
Gotcha.
Like you kind of observed. It's like um it's definitely a very personal thing for me. It's like I will have like a bad day and I'll go home and I'll just like play the piano like as a means of sort of like dealing with the feelings.
Gotcha.
And so I think it's like it also just feels like an extension of myself, like the art that I put out and like the things that I create. So I'm I'm very conscious about just sort of like what I'm doing and like I really have to put my soul kind of into everything I do.
Yeah, I could tell.
So like I don't like I have some stuff that I've written that's sort of just more fun and silly, but I think like recently it's been like a very like personal, like kind of serious means of just like and it's not even like serious in the sense of like I need to be commercially successful and I need to like make money, but like I need it to be like kind of I need it to mirror like kind of my inner vision for it.
Gotcha.
Like I'm just not interested in doing it at all.
I got you. You have to put everything you have into it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to look at it like, what's the point of wasting my time with this?
Right.
If it doesn't represent really how you feel about a
Yeah.
situation or matter. That's awesome. That's an interesting approach to music. I've had a lot of different artists and everything on the show, and everybody's approaches are different with it. And it's interesting to get that for you. Do you think that stems from like anything, the way you were brought up, or the way that you kind of just your outlook on the world itself? Like, what makes you take that approach when creating?
Yeah. I mean, like I grew up in a really musical household, so like
Okay,
my mom's a music educator. My
gotcha.
dad also um is like I'd say like he's kind of the more like music connoisseur of the two of my parents. So he like I think just got rid of like just tons of CDs,
Oh yeah.
like he had a giant collection. Um but yeah, he listens to a lot of music and my mom does too. And then she also like plays and is an educator. And so like my house, like and even my brother also a musician. So it's like
Nice.
there's just always music around. So that was kind of like I think one of like the first sort of languages that I had. Um and I think like because of that, like it's one of my like favorite tools for just processing things in terms of like looking at the world and like trying to make sense of like the chaos there or in the chaos in like my relationships or my personal life. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I got distracted.
No, I just wanted to know like your approach in music and the way that you take on your writing, if that was kind of brought on by your upbringing and
Right.
outlook on life, and the kind of way
Yeah.
that shaped you, kind of caused you to be that way. But it's obvious that it did. If your parents and everybody are serious about music, and that's a way, like I can relate to that. Like that's the way I grew up. My
Yeah.
dad's a audio engineer, and the family owns a record
Mhm.
label and recording studio and all that kind of stuff. They've been doing music and everything ever since I was as a kid. So that stuff really sticks with you. It takes, and then the way that the teachings that we get along the road in life and all that, that imprints on us, and you can see the way that we do everything through art and everything like that. Same way that you can tell if a bass player mixed a song because it has a heavier bass in there than if a guitar player does it or something like
Right.
that. You get a variety of different things. Tell me about your musical journey. What kind of you say you came from a musical family and that you play guitar, piano, any other instruments?
I also play trombone.
Awesome. That's an interesting one. Didn't see
Yeah.
that coming at all.
Most people don't. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I think trombone, piano, and guitar are like the main ones. And
Now,
like
do you actually play those, like trombone, like, or have you just played trombone
I
before?
like play trombone.
You play trombone.
Yeah, I've played like a lot of instruments before. Like I've
Yeah,
played ukulele, like I've played flute before. I can play like a scale on the flute.
I got you.
Uh,
Like I stayed in a band as a kid, so I played the violin, the trumpet, did percussion.
yeah.
Tried to do the clarinet, never really got into that. Anything that had to do with the reader and all that kind of stuff, that was not doing that.
Yeah.
Trumpet was super fun. Played the guitar for a little bit. That was good. I never had the patience as a kid to really get into it. Right now, bass is what I have. Like
Yeah.
that's where my love is.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, tell me about your musical journey.
Yeah. I guess I started out kind of just like singing in church with family.
Mhm.
Um, and that was sort of like my first kind of practice singing. I've done like a little bit of musical theater,
Mhm.
like a really little bit. Like I did like 1 year like in first grade and then I did another year like in high school. Like
Okay.
but it was just once and then I was like, I don't need to do that anymore.
That's pretty much all you need, though.
Yeah.
Musical theater.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can always tell the people that came through theater, the theater kids, that's a whole different breed of human being right there.
Yeah. They're very like I kind of respect it though. They're very dramatic, they're very enthusiastic.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that's my temperament.
I got you.
I'm a little more like this, um but yeah, so I had that experience a little bit. Grew up, yeah, like singing in church. And then I did like piano lessons a little bit um in elementary school as well, but I didn't ever practice. So
Yeah.
she dropped me as a student.
Oh man.
Which is it totally makes sense. Like I would come into the lessons and she would like pull out the thing from last week and I'd be like she could tell. She's like, you haven't looked at this since like I gave it to you. And I'm like, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that was sort of like I had like some experience, but I kind of stopped doing piano for a while.
Mhm.
I did band throughout middle school up until my first year of high school, did marching band, hated it. I was like, this is not for me. And then, so yeah, for the remainder of high school, like I did that 1 year of musical theater. I did some like jazz trombone, like outside of school,
Oh, dang. Nice.
that was fun, but also just like my practice routine like wasn't there. And so I was just like, eh. But when I got into like community college, I started doing like trombone again.
Okay.
I started doing piano again. Like I actually took some piano classes. And also, yeah, I guess during this time too, like during high school, I was still like songwriting and I was like kind of still playing piano, but just mostly doing chords. I like had written like a song on the guitar, but like I couldn't even play it because I like couldn't play in time. And I'm still doing like singing also like during that time. But yeah, I did some vocal jazz also. So it's kind of like it's all over the
It's all
place.
over the place. Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I started really kind of liking the stuff I wrote. Like I released like my first like SoundCloud single, I think like my senior year of high school. And then I released my first like Apple Music, Spotify single like last year on my 21st.
Okay. What was that?
It's called Freedom.
Okay.
It's sort of like it's very different, I think, than kind of my usual style. And I did it with a friend, so it was sort of like a blend of our two things. But yeah, like that one was like a sort of pop song, like pop R&B vibe. Yeah.
That has to be. Now I got to go search and find that one. Because after hearing you at the open mic and then hearing you here, like you with the pop R&B vibe?
Yeah.
That seems interesting.
It's very different.
Would you say you're a pretty versatile artist?
I would say yeah.
Do you have a structure or a genre that you kind of lean more heavy into?
I think like lately it's been like kind of that song is more in the folk realm.
Right.
And so like I've really learned to love that, but I think there's a ton of jazz influence for me just because like I spent a lot of time in the jazz world. And then I listen to a lot of R&B.
Yeah. You have a favorite artist or anybody?
I do like Daniel Caesar a lot.
Okay.
He's great.
Gotcha.
I like Lucky Day.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm more familiar with Daniel Caesar's because he did that. What is that one song? I can't think of it.
Best part?
He did that one with Ella May or her, right?
With her, yeah.
With her. Gotcha. I always get them confused.
Both great artists.
Yeah,
so
absolutely amazing. I've seen. I remember I caught Ella May at a concert, or I didn't catch the concert, but I actually saw the live performance of her concert. And she was in this space, in this like at this venue, and she had like the stage was surrounded by the audience and everything. It was small, like intimate type of thing.
Yeah.
And she did that. Like, I'm like, they have a unique way of just drawing people in to their music that a lot of times people think is a lost art when it comes to music. You hear, older people or whatever like that saying, music's not the same as it was back in my day. I'm pretty sure every generation says the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I find myself saying the same thing where it's like, man, like I don't like the music that comes out these days. It's like, yeah, I'm 30 years old though. Like the things that kids like to listen to now, I'm like, man, that's trash. And then I get flashbacks of people when I was a kid saying that the music that I was listening to was trash and it wasn't as good. It's like, it's just a continuous vicious cycle that you go through. It's like, it is what it is. That's the way it goes. So you said that R&B, jazz, and all that kind of stuff all influence your music.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Do you think that like when you're taking your approach to writing and all that, like when it comes to outside of music, different philosophies that might inspire you?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on like, there's like, I'm interested in like religion a lot. Like I'm really curious about just sort of all the different practices people have of like sort of accessing like, God or the divine or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So that's like something that's super interesting to me. And I think like I've been kind of going through this spiritual journey in the last year. And so that's sort of, there's a lot of, like I talk about God a lot in my music. Like I talk about kind of like, and a lot of it, ironically, it's like, it's me like kind of arguing with God and like
interesting. Okay.
having like this sort of conversation of just like, why are things like this? But yeah, I think like definitely just sort of exploring kind of religion and spirituality and consciousness and just like the nature of reality is like it's pretty broad, but
I got you.
that's a big thing for me. I think also like I also do poetry and I do like prose writing too. And so like that like
So, do you do poetry when you just don't feel like making the music to the song? You just say, "Oh, this is a poem. This is not a song."
I think it's definitely like a sometimes it's like I'll write something that's sort of just like a poem and it'll like end up being a song, but usually it's like a whole different medium for me. So
Yeah.
it's like the things I end up writing are different
Yeah.
than they would be with music.
I used to write. I used to be big into poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife liked it when I was big into poetry. I did that when we were dating. Then when we got married, I stopped. She was like, "You know what? You're not. What is this? You stopped with your poetry and all that." I was like, "Yeah, now we're married. We got 2 kids and all that kind of stuff. Got time to be writing poems." So yeah,
No time
these
for rhymes.
kids, no time for rhymes. Exactly. That's awesome. So poetry and all that kind of stuff. That's so you're obviously you've dived deep into the arts and music and all that kind of stuff. What do you think your big vision is as an artist? Do you have a goal that you want to get to? Do you see yourself, or do you put out music just to share it, or do you like, hey, I have a goal that I'm trying to accomplish with this?
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely trying to figure out right now.
Okay.
Um, I know like I know music is something that like I absolutely love and that I'll always love, but I think it's definitely challenging to be like doing something you love as like a job
Hmm.
because then it's sort of like it's not like you're actively choosing it anymore. It's sort of like, okay, I have to do this in order. Like, I think
Yeah.
the world of musicians now, like, and that's actually something I kind of was like with my song Digital Age of just
Hmm.
sort of like lamenting about was like how, like, you really have to engage with like social media, like
Hmm.
extensively
Yeah.
as like an artist now in a way like you didn't
You
have
didn't
to
have to do it.
before.
I mean, technically, there's routes around it, but then you lose that independence on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something else that's like really big for me is just like, being able to do it the way that I want to do it and
Yeah.
not like having to meet a quota. But I think like for me, it's like I just want to put out like maybe like an album or two and like an EP and just like have it out there and like,
Okay.
maybe try to like promote it a little. But like I think like definitely it's more important to me that like I do it authentically and in my own time than like I'm gonna make it big. But yeah, I really love the art and I know like a lot of people they say like when you have to do it like because I have some friends that have like, worked in LA and worked in the industry and like
Mm.
did pretty well, but they're just like LA is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
get that.
yeah, like I don't know if I could do that.
That's
So,
I'm not into that.
right.
That's why, like, it's funny. I always tell people, like, we get questions like, "Hey, how come you guys don't take the studio up to Los Angeles and all that kind of stuff?" I'm like, first off, when I'm in LA, I'm trying to get out of LA.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the same for me. That mentality, I think, is I mean, I've seen it change as time has gone on, where people used to have a mentality of, okay, you have to go to Los Angeles, you have to go to these specific areas to be successful in whether it be film or music or anything like that. But since everything is being so decentralized, right?
Right.
And since Hollywood does not make movies the way that they used to do, and the rise of the independent market is,
Mm.
it's booming, you really don't have to be in LA to do that. Just look at like over the past few years when you've had what they call it the Cal exit, right? Cal exit, where everybody was leaving California. Elon Musk dipped out, Joe Rogan dipped out, all these people that were dipping out of Los Angeles, dipping out of California because of various reasons. And they took their businesses to Texas and all that kind of stuff. And then now you got people moving there. Pretty much you can go anywhere that you want to go with
Right.
and do that. That's the thing I love. That's what I love about creativity. It's like not putting limits and boundaries on that.
Mm.
Just do your thing. So I'm always interested to know when it comes to your creative journey. Everybody has those high and low points. Sometimes you may have thought like, oh no, I'm done with the music or whatever like that, and I'm gonna just go on and I'm gonna just, I don't know, be an accountant somewhere. Or whatever it may be. So tell me, what do you think has been the lowest part in your creative journey so far?
It's kind of an interesting question because, like, I think, ironically, like the lowest points in my life are when I'm like the most creative because I have to like lean
Hmm.
on it the most.
I got you.
Um, I think honestly, this past year has been really intense.
Yeah.
Like there's just been a lot going on in
Mm,
terms of like kind of, yeah, like my spiritual journey and life circumstances
yeah.
and like family and kind of just everything always happens like all at once.
Got you. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I think definitely like the last the last few years have been very creative times for me and like very difficult times.
Hmm.
And so it's like I think it's easy for me to like write the stuff. Like the writing comes pretty quickly, but when it comes to like the logistics of like I'm going to record it and I'm going to do this and like, like I also like I have Ableton like because my brother had Ableton, so I have his license on my computer.
I got you. I got
Um
Ableton. I love
yeah,
it.
but the computer's like really old and like there's this storage issue on it where like
Ah,
I keep deleting files off
mhm.
and the storage keeps for some reason like it just like it keeps expanding like the amount of storage used
Yes.
and I can't figure out what's wrong. And so when I'm trying to record stuff like there'll just be all these little bumps. And so like I get really just like I'm already like not inclined to like
Hmm.
sit there and do the thing and so I'm just like ugh, like I get really like impatient. So I think like there's just been a lot of like, yeah, things like that where it's like logistical issues of like
Hmm.
trying to record and trying to get stuff done that have been like discouraging. Um, but yeah, like the writing itself, like I feel like I've been in a great place in terms of just like I've had like I write probably like at least a song a week. Like,
Nice.
but the thing is it's just like, I have like 90 written songs, but like none of them are like recorded or like have everything fleshed out. But I think, yeah, I guess to answer your question, like, I think the hardest part of like my creative journey is just putting like putting the events in time
Hmm.
and like getting it done. Um, instead of just sort of being in this like sort of creative land where like nothing really happens, but like, it's very authentic.
Yeah.
like, so yeah, I think, yeah, like I guess especially this last year, like striking that balance between like getting things done and like
Hmm.
just sort of letting the imperfections be imperfections versus like having it exactly the way that I want.
Yeah. You're never
Uh,
gonna be completely 100%
yeah,
satisfied with anything.
I'm realizing that
Yeah. It's
as
never
time goes on.
it's never gonna happen. It's like I've done it so much where it's even with this podcast, like I edit this podcast.
Mhm.
And there's so many times where I'm looking and I have to critique like little pieces of things. I'm like, oh man, I said that. I didn't mean to say it like that or whatever like that. The timing of getting it done or starting it, I was delayed. Like I had put out a teaser for this like 4 or 5 months before we were actually doing it. But that's because I was nitpicking at
Mm,
basically everything to implement it. But then you're like, okay, are you going to be stifling your creativity? It's like, it's never going to get done.
yeah.
Have you ever produced a song and thought like, oh man, it can't get anything. It can't get any better than this at all. Nah, it's not. That's why you learn to love it and enjoy
Yeah.
the process and everything. And then that's one of the things I love about like remixes and live albums and all that kind of stuff is because it gives people an opportunity to see the gradual like um what is the
The
it's not
progress.
perfecting, but the progress
Yeah.
that a song would make. So it's like I would say my dad's band. They have songs that they would um, record, and then the versions of them that I hear now, and I'm like, yo, I want the newest version. I want to record your rehearsal and listen to that one
Yeah.
versus the other stuff. And it's just, a different way of going about it. So you say you have a couple EPs out currently?
No, so I have 3 singles out. I have 2
Okay.
that are on SoundCloud and I have 1 that's like everywhere.
Okay.
I'm working on an EP
You're
currently.
working
It's
on an
been a
EP.
work in progress
You got a
for a very long
timeline for
time.
that?
I think this fall is my
Okay.
goal. I'm trying to just like get it knocked out.
I got you. What's your process with that?
Um, it's mostly procrastinating. That's the main process.
Are you producing it yourself?
Yeah. So I like for my last single, or I guess I released one more no, was that after? No, that was before. I released 2 singles that I just produced. Like, it was just like the first one was just bass and vocals and a bunch of harmonies. And then the second one was like just piano
Gotcha.
and vocals.
How'd you learn how to do your producing? YouTube University, or did you do like some extra technical?
I took
study?
like some lessons
Okay.
just on like basic mixing.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, like I know how to use an EQ and a limiter and like pan things, but it's not super advanced, but it's like enough to like, put it out there.
I gotcha.
And I use like people like hate when I tell them this because they're like, what mic did you use? Like, and it's like a drum mic from an Amazon set, like for $125. Like there's like, it's one of like many. And like, it's just my brother had it. And like, I just was like, I like how it sounds. Like it's very dry. And like, I've been asked multiple times, like, what mic do you use? And I'm like, it's the word, like, it's not even like a vocal mic really, but I like it. And like, I prefer to use it over like other people's like nice mics sometimes.
I get it. Sometimes it's more so just the tone and the sound you're going for.
Yeah.
Rather than like whatever the industry standard.
Right.
Like the mics that we had you on were SE, and some of the mics were ribbon mics and condenser mics and all that kind of stuff. They have a very particular sound to them.
I mean, those sound amazing.
Like,
but
yeah, the idea of recording a vocal on a drum mic from Amazon that came in a kit is absolutely absurd to me. Oh man, I'm gonna have to check out your other stuff just to see. I'm like, yo, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's wild.
I think it's like it's called like a pile mic or something.
It doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. plug the pile mic. Maybe they'll send me more like $20 mics.
More pile mics. No, we're banning them from anything else. They're like, no, we have a really good microphone set. Because to be honest, you don't have to have the most professional or anything like that type of set. It's more so what you do with it. If you know how to utilize your tools effectively, you don't need to kind of buy. That's why I always get tired of producers and people talking about, oh yeah, man, I got these plugins, I got all this type of stuff. It's like, yo, start off with the stock stuff. You know, that version of Ableton you got, that version of Pro Tools, FL Studio, or whatever you got, comes with its own compressors and all that. Start off with that before you start purchasing a bunch of extra stuff.
Right.
Learn the fundamentals, learn the basics first, and then build on top of that. Because a lot of times, like there's this one producer I follow on YouTube. His name is Amir. He'll do a full beat using the free plugin called Expand in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
First off, there's a lot of issues with that. Who in the world is producing in Pro Tools? That's a problem in itself. And then on top of that, using Expand, it has some solid kind of sounds, but I watch him work and he puts in work on that thing.
Yeah.
And you would never know. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna make it sound like a Drake beat or whatever like that. It's like, okay, cool. And you kind of go off of it just like that. So what is your Instagram?
It's Aria Cecile, ARIACECILE on Instagram. And also, I think that might be like my handle it's just Aria and then space Cecile on like Apple Music and Spotify.
Okay, Aria Cecile.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think on YouTube. I'm there too, a little.
Okay. And you think we'll have Sophia's Eyes out for the fall?
I think so. I think if I'm doing this, I'll get it out.
I got you.
I'll get it done.
We have thousands of people that will be seeing this episode. So they're going to be looking for it now.
Okay. That'll motivate me to work through my Ableton setup and my storage issues.
And then when you're ready for another project, you come back on the show and we'll announce another project.
Cool.
And we'll just keep it going like that. Especially if we get to catch a studio performance from you every time. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Well, thank you so much for joining me on another episode. It's been great. All right, guys, that's it for season 1 of the Icon Presents podcast. We will be back in November. So thank you so much for all of your support, all of the artists, the creatives, from comic book artists to actors, film actors, show actors, everything. It's been a blast having you on the show. I truly, truly thank you guys for your support. Be sure to check out the Icon Presents podcast website. It is an amazing thing that we're doing. We're not going anywhere. October is going to be full of stuff, so keep an eye out. First stop is Los Angeles Comic-Con. We got film festivals. We got everything coming up. We got boots on the ground, basically. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Y'all take care.